Good morning, everybody. Sam here, United People's TV. I apologize for being a little bit late this morning. You'll forgive me, right? I'm normally like on time by a couple of minutes. It's like normal TV. Actually, no, traditional TV is pretty bang on time. But anyway, this is new TV. And we're here to talk about Paul Pogba. That is the title of this video. That is what I really want to actually have a proper debate about now. And that's, I suppose, a bit different. Normally, we come on here, we look at all the transfer news, we look at everything like that, and then we discuss it in real detail. But at the moment, today, I'll be honest, there is nothing news-wise for us to really focus on. Obviously, Raphael Varane is the news, but that's going to be later on. We're going to be doing, I'm definitely going to be here later on today doing another live stream all about Raphael Varane being a new Manchester United player, hopefully seeing him holding up the Manchester United shirt. That's later on. What I want to focus on this morning is Paul Pogba, because it's such an interesting debate among Manchester United fans, because we've all seen the news. Let's head straight to the news here. It's all about the fact that PSG are unlikely to move for Paul Pogba this summer. Now, I've said this plenty of times that Paul Pogba running down his contract was a negotiation tactic, a power tool that Mino Raiola wanted, that Manchester United didn't want him to have. And this summer, because of the pandemic, because of everything that has happened, Paul Pogba lost that power. Nobody can afford him. Juventus, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and now PSG, because they've gone for Messi, they cannot afford Paul Pogba. So he can't leave. Even if he wants to leave, he can't leave. So Manchester United now, between now and next, probably January, if we don't get him to sign a contract by January, that means that Paul Pogba can speak to clubs abroad. So what I want to do in this video is run through your pros and your cons about Paul Pogba at Manchester United. What do you think the reasons that we should be happy he's staying? What do you think of the reasons that a lot of us are frustrated that he's staying? And then I want to compile a list of things that we all think that Solskjaer needs to do to get the most out of Paul Pogba. That's what I want to do throughout this live stream. So it's like a debate, an interactive debate, and we'll compile the list together. And by the end of it, we should be able to send it to Solskjaer, and then he'll solve all the problems with Pogba. Simple as that. But how are you all doing this morning? I'll jump straight into the intro there without really asking all of you. You let me know where you're watching from in the comments, and I'll try and give you some shout outs throughout the entire stream, as I do every single day. What else have we got to talk about? Before we quickly speak about Paul Pogba, look, if you're not a member of it, why not? We've launched our fantasy league again, so get involved. It's free. Oh, sorry about that. That's the wrong thing. How do I get that off screen? There we go. Brilliant. This is what happens when you go live. Oh, no. Have I done that? I think I've already done that again. Oh, dear. Oh, dear, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have to now speak whilst building all of that again, because something else came on. Oh, there we go. Panic over. Sometimes these technical hitches happen, and sometimes I get caught out by them. That was nearly another one, but it's not quite. As I said, it's all about the fantasy league this year. If you weren't a member of it last year, where were you? It was free to get involved in. We gave away a free Eric Cantona shirt. What more could you want? But this year, it is launched again. My God, what is going on? Jeez, where is my stuff? My stuff keeps disappearing off screens, and I don't know where it is anymore. This is the power of going live streaming, and when things balls up, this is one of those situations. Look, Charles, you're asking what the link to the Fantasy Premier League is. Let me quickly get that for you now, my friend. I don't think that I am in a good zone this morning, because I'm clicking all the wrong buttons, and it's all going wrong. But what I can get you is the Fantasy Premier League code. So basically, follow this link I'm about to drop into the comments here, right there. If you follow that link, you can automatically go straight to it, and then you can join our league. And it's free. Last year, we gave away an Eric Cantona signed shirt. This year, I don't know what the prize is just yet, Charles, but don't worry, it'll be a decent prize. See if we can't get the right thing. Ian's saying, did I get out of the wrong side of the bed today? I don't know what's wrong with me this morning, Ian. Actually, I do know what's wrong with me. Technology. when technology works and you're on a live stream, it's brilliant. When it doesn't work, it leaves you all flustered. You have to try and speak whilst you're sorting it all out. And that is the current situation that I find myself in because I can't find all my tabs that I left open to speak about Paul Pogba. So now what I'm going to have to do is create them all again whilst I'm on the live stream chatting to you. And I can see there's a comment coming in there from one of the OGs, and that is Orgasmo. Pogba on his day is unplayable. Let's just give hope he gives all of his plans. Oh, Jesus. Let's just hope he gives his all if he plans to stay, to leave next season. I can't even speak properly. What is going on with me this morning? My God, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I'm normally better than this. You know I'm normally better than this. You still hope he signs a new deal. Hey, look, I definitely hope he signs a new deal, man. Because now we're at the situation where Paul Pogba, I don't think he's really going to be going anywhere. It's certainly not that we certainly know it's not going to happen this summer because nobody can afford Paul Pogba. I do find that very, very strange, actually. It's a very unique situation that Manchester United find, not Manchester United really, Paul Pogba finds himself in, because normally when a player runs his contract down, they have all the power. But Pogba has no power this summer. Pogba has absolutely no power. And I find that almost hilarious. It means that you've got Mino is going to be in a situation where he's not used to being in. He's used to having all the power. He's got none. We are nearly ready again. This is obviously coming on a live stream. I know it looks very straightforward straight away, but I'm normally preparing it for 45 minutes to an hour, getting everything ready. It just seems that this morning I've seemed to be doing things all sorts of wrong because all my preparations have gone completely and utterly out the window. But let's head straight here now. Look at that. We've now got it back up again. Let me head down to the comments. I can't believe that somebody, I almost feel bad for you, Takeoff, that you've joined as a member during this live stream because normally I'm much better than this. But my head's all over the shop this morning. But let's go back to what I was saying at the start of the video. But big up to you, Takeoff, for joining. Thank you very much, my man. Honestly, if everyone wants to get involved and join and help the channel, you know what to do by now. And obviously, clearly, I need some sort of help this morning. But I want you to tell me in the comments now, and then we'll have a discussion. You give me the pros of Paul Pogba staying at Manchester United, and you give me the cons. We'll build this list together, and then after that, we'll have a little debate about what Solskjaer needs to do to get the most out of Paul Pogba. What is that? Is that going to be a formation switch? Is that going to be making him captain? What do you think Solskjaer needs to do to get the absolute best out of Paul Pogba? So you let me know in the comments and I'll read them all out. We'll go through it together. Let's head down here. We've got Takeoff watching. You're Kelvin watching from Nigeria. Good morning to everybody watching from Nigeria. Good morning to you, Kelvin. Thank you very much for joining as a member. That honestly was the worst start to a live stream I've ever done. And that is the worst start to a live stream I will ever do. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to head down to these comments and I'm going to get all of your opinions inside here because I think it's really important that this sort of, with Paul Pogba, it's very easy just to go, he's completely toxic. There's no point talking about him. Just get out of my club. But it's not really a measured debate, is it? Because he is a world-class footballer. So let's go down to the comments here. Ian, for the first one, I mean, you're not wrong there, Ian. That's definitely the first con of Paul Pogba. Mino is a dick. There you go. Yeah, I know you write D star, but I didn't. He is a dick. We've got Vidash. You're saying his physical presence and passing. So we're going to add that here. Physical presence and passing. It's one for Paul Pogba as a pro. I mean, you can see that in terms of how good Paul Pogba was with France at Euro 2020, didn't he? He was fantastic. We've got, you're saying he sulks. Okay, right, getting that down. Obviously, I'm writing this list, but it doesn't mean I can't take stuff off. It's going to be a moving list. Matt, look, and Matt Webley is absolutely world class on the ball. He is world class on the ball, man. Honestly, when Paul Pogba, I know that so many people are frustrated maybe with the inconsistency of Paul Pogba, how one game he can be utterly brilliant, how the next game he can the game can pass him by. I think that probably the best period that we saw of Paul Pogba was when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer first took over as manager, those 3 months where Paul Pogba honestly became arguably the best player in Europe's top 5 leagues. I remember I was there at the Fulham game when he scored, and that was just a period where Paul Pogba was absolutely untouchable. Let me go down here. Let's see what else in terms we've got the pros. Inconsistency. And I think that's probably a fair one to have. I think you can say that about a lot of the players. Inconsistency. Let me be polite for the kids that are watching here, and let me do that as well. He is a dick, but we don't need to see dick. We certainly don't need to see dick. Defensive work rate, you're saying down here as a con. Look, and I think defensive work rate, for me, that leads to quite an interesting point, which I think is very much true and has been true the entire time with Paul Pogba. Yeah, he doesn't have a very good defensive work rate. So don't put him in a position where you need to play him in a defensive role. That's very simple. And I would say that's more of a con of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the way that Paul Pogba is being used as an individual, rather than saying it's a con of Paul Pogba's game. Because, look, if you put Paul Pogba at centre-back, he's not going to be a very good defender, is he? Lo and behold. Paul Pogba should be played in a more attacking midfield role. And I think if you're pointing out the fact that he's got a bad defensive work rate, I think you have to point out the fact that Manchester United should not be using him in a position where that defensive work rate gets exposed. Look, I even forgot the banner on the bottom of the screen today. My head really was not in the game today. I apologize about that this morning. I really do. Hey, Josh, how you doing, my friend? Is that another Josh Williams? Too many Josh Williamses, mate. I'm not sure. How you doing? Thank you very much for joining. And honestly, I want to actually I want to really apologize for how bad this stream is this morning by comparison of what we normally do. Vishra, you're saying a pro is that he's a leader in the dressing room. Now, we definitely saw that at the World Cup when France leader in the dressing room. One sec. It's very hard to type and talk at the same time. He definitely was a leader in the dressing room with France at the Euros. Have we seen too much of that in terms of what he's like at Manchester United? We can't see too much behind the scenes, so I'm not really sure we can actually judge that at all. Ritesh, you're saying slow-paced compared to others in team. So you're saying slow pace. I mean, I'll be honest, I disagree with that completely, Ritesh. I think Paul Pogba, when Paul Pogba uses his body to his own advantage, and he's a huge physical specimen, like, was he, like 6'3", absolutely built, shredded because of his own work rate. When he uses that to his advantage and you see him sort of not particularly elbows, but using his body to get in the way of players, they can't get him off the ball. They really can't get him off the ball when he's in full flow. Another comment coming here from Chris saying he just needs someone defensive to play alongside him. Then we will get a consistent Pogba like we do for France. Chris, cracking comment. Thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. So what we're saying down here, if we're looking at what Solskjaer needs to do, he needs to get a defensive midfielder. Get a defensive midfielder. And that's probably the single most important point now. And I completely agree. Just became a member. Big up to you, my friend. Right, let's head down here. And then let's have a conversation, because this is the most important part. This is what we really had to. So this is just going to be, if I'm looking at pros of Paul Pogba, I mean, his through balls are incredible. His vision, through balls and vision. There's not many better in the world, if I'm being honest. When Paul Pogba really is looking up, head up, has the time to look for people, he's absolutely unstoppable. And as I said, his physical presence, somebody's already said that. When he's on form, he's absolutely superb. But as I said, if you're looking down it, look, his agent is a dick. His agent's definitely a dick. Sulks, inconsistency, defensive work rate, slow pace. I question the slow pace, if I'm being completely honest, as I said there. But let's move on from that, and let's move on to this. What does Solskjaer need to do to get the best out of Paul Pogba? Because for me, the conversation now is completely different. The conversation now isn't an argument about whether or not Paul Pogba should be staying at Manchester United. The conversation should be an argument about what Solskjaer has to do to get the absolute best out of him. Because He's staying. I don't think there's any way now that Paul Pogba leaves Manchester United this summer. I think the only chance he had of angling for a move away was if he went to PSG. And PSG have, I'm not sure if you noticed it or heard, PSG have just signed Messi. So PSG have absolutely no money left. Oh, look at that, Josh. I saw that. Big up. You're becoming a UPTV legend. I remember you saying this in the stream the other day, Josh. Thank you very much for doing it and during this stream as well, because I've been all over the shop. I really am so much better than this normally. I really do apologize. I'm quite embarrassed, actually. But we'll move on. Right, what I'm doing now is I'm rebuilding the formation I'd already built before I came on the stream and before it actually managed to disappear off my screen. That's what happens when you sometimes go a little bit live. So what I wanted to do now was have a debate really about the formation that has to be used to get the most out of Paul Pogba, because in my opinion, that's one of the most critical things that needs to be sorted. I think the big reason that we haven't really got the best out of Paul Pogba at Manchester United so far is because we've used him in a variety of positions. One game, we use him in one position. Another game, we'll use him in another position. And people there, someone in the comments there saying, oh, look, Paul Pogba's defensive work rate is a flaw of his game. Yeah, it is a flaw of his game. So don't put him in a position where you need to use a defensive role for Paul Pogba. That's quite simple. It's like you get rid of the fact that Paul Pogba does have a poor defensive work rate and you play towards his strengths. But let me go down here and let me see what we're saying in the comments here. We've got Surendran. You're saying, I believe that consistency is a very important thing to be a world-class player. Why Messi and Ronaldo are up there is because they keep doing the job game in, game out. It's an excellent comment there, Surendran. And I think that's probably the phrase world-class is something it's changed really over the years, hasn't it? To be a world-class player previously, you really had to be in that upper echelon, that elite level. And it's far easier to get labeled as world-class now. And consistency is definitely part of it. But we all know that on his game, individually, isolated games, Paul Pogba can and has been world-class. It's whether or not he can go that level further. That's when you get towards the Ballon d'Or, when you can do that week in, week out. I've got Chris Morton saying, how do you become a member on YouTube? Chris, it's very simple, my friend. You just look underneath me right now. You see the subscribe button. By the way, everybody subscribe if you're new in town. Subscribe, it's free. There's also a join button next to that. Hit that. It's less than the price of a pint. You can join. There's 3 different tiers. There's squad member. There's team captain as UPTV legend, as Josh Williams has just joined up. Big up to you, Josh. A real UPTV legend. They all go towards helping the channel and me bringing more content out to you. As I said, like the video yesterday, which not many of you watched. I was kind of surprised about that. In terms of my actual predictions for Manchester United this season, in terms of the Champions League, where we're going to do League Cup, FA Cup, top scorer, most improved player, who's going to win player of the year. If you haven't seen it, it's the latest video on the channel before this one. Go and watch it. Not that many people watched yesterday. I was kind of surprised. Josh, how you doing? You have upgraded to a legend and you are a proper legend. But let's look at that. We've got Yao watching from Italy. Good morning to you. Yao, you're from Italy. Look, I've been waffling there for a bit, so I've kind of missed quite a few of your comments if you've been firing them in. What do you think Solskjaer needs to do to get the best out of Paul Pogba? Right now, we've got one thing on our list, and that's get a defensive midfielder. I think you're completely spot on. And for me, it's not as if... For me, a defensive midfielder has always been the priority this summer, but the fact that Paul Pogba is staying now, it heightens that need even more so. It's just the obvious missing piece. And without it, there's just going to be question marks that are just going to dip in and out throughout the entire season about just how good United could be with a defensive midfielder. You've got Carl Ross saying, with a bulk body, can Donny be our DM? Now, Donny has definitely beefed up a little bit. And that's clearly was something that he felt he needed to do to really adapt to the Premier League. And maybe he felt that was a reason why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't use him as much last season. I don't personally think that Donny can play in that role on his own. If we were to go over here and look at this formation, for example, I think this would be far too risky. If you've got a back 5 there, it's going to be pretty set. While De Gea and Henderson, that's going to be an argument and a conversation that always happens. But Shaw, Maguire, Varane, Bissaka, this is the key role. Look how much space this player has to cover Out of any player on the pitch, this is going to be the most isolated individual, the one who really has to be able to do that job properly and on his own, because it allows Paul Pogba and Bruno to play in the advanced positions, which is where you get the most out of him. Now, John, this is a bit of a controversial opinion. CDM is what we need for Paul Pogba. Oh, as in we need a CDM. I thought you meant we actually should play Paul Pogba CDM. On his day, he's even better than Bruno. Bruno is just more consistent, but they are different players. Chris Tate saying, good morning, Sam. I enjoy the analytical depths of the video. Good morning, Chris, and thanks for joining as a member. As I said, I apologize for everything going wrong this morning, but I don't know. My head wasn't in the game. I felt like Paul Pogba, on the sidelines, needs to get my head in the game. But I'm back now, and we're actually having a conversation because I haven't accidentally closed all the fucking windows that I opened and got prepared. All right, let's go down here. Ian, you're saying deploy Ghana as a DM with freedom for Paul Pogba to roam around. Again, look, you could play Ghana there. We've already had this conversation and debate. You could play Ghana there. Of course you could. But that's a lot of responsibility for a player of Ghana's age and experience that we don't know whether he's... And that's the issue. Look, and I've said this before as well. Look, we could put Matic there. Matic on paper. Hey, look, get Matic 7 years ago there and we're winning the league. Simple. Get Matic of right now and he's 400 years old. He's not going to last 90 minutes in any game at all. So Matic, he can't do that. McTominay is probably the best suited to that on paper. As Josh says, look, there's over 400 watching. Drop a like on the video, people. Only 400 watching this morning. I kind of goes to show that I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Forgive me, people. Anyway. McTominay for me is the best one for that role. And I don't really think that anybody else is going to be able to do it as good. And the issue here, and this is the big issue, as Orr says, look, don't think a mid of Pogba, Donny and Bruno works. There's definitely not enough defensive discipline in there. Look, if you're playing a game on FIFA online and you're playing as Man United and you play Donny with Bruno and Pogba, I tell you what, you're going to be spanking teams left, right and centre. It's a great team on paper, but it's not a great team in reality. The reality is, as Orr has just said there, is that Manchester United need more defensive discipline. And my fear here of what we could see with Paul Pogba next season is this, and we all know exactly where this is going. Because as soon as you do this, you take away from Paul Pogba. As soon as you do this, you give yourself more defensive discipline. But you weaken yourself going forward. And all of a sudden, you see Paul Pogba getting shafted out onto the left. Now, a lot of you will say, look, Paul Pogba played there for Juve and he was very good. Yeah, he was good there. But his best position, undoubtedly, is not there. Paul Pogba's best position is right here. It's not out on the wing. It's playing as a left central midfielder who can, who can go out on the wing and come around like that if you want him to. But don't just station him out on the wing, which is what you have to do as part of a 4-2-3-1. You force Paul Pogba to play out of position, or even worse, you do this. You play Paul Pogba back there as part of a pivot with McTominay. I don't know, you play Rashford out here, for example. And all of a sudden, you're tasking Paul Pogba with playing in a disciplined role, basically not moving from here, operating sideways, occasionally dipping into the opposition's half, but asking Paul Pogba to effectively station himself there and play make from deep. Look, that's just wrong. This is not how you get. So when Paul Pogba plays in this position, that's when you'll see him receive the ball from Harry Maguire and get caught on the ball, get caught in possession, and he won't be good. He's not good in that role. And it's the same way that if you were to play, I don't know, Mason Greenwood as a right back, he wouldn't be anywhere near as good as he would be as a striker. Because lo and behold, he's not a right back. It's just this is the thing that genuinely pisses me off about this summer. I'm so excited about the fact that Manchester United have signed Rafael Varane. Elite, mate. Oh my God, I can't wait to see what difference he makes to our defense. And Jadon Sancho, he's also an incredible right winger that transforms our right wing. But our whole midfield setup is fucked unless we sign a defensive midfielder. And this is why it has annoyed me so much, is because that defensive midfielder affects Paul Pogba. and what he's going to be doing next season, what position he's going to be playing next season. It affects Bruno, what position he's going to be playing next season. Where is he going to play? Is he going to play as part of a pivot? Is he going to play as an isolated number 10 in a 4-2-3-1? There's so many questions that are all surrounding us not having a defensive midfielder. And that is why I always said it was the most important role that we had this season. Sure, we've improved our right wing. That's an isolated position. It brings balance to our attack. Wicked. But it's just nowhere near as big a problem as a defensive midfielder. And we're just going to have to look. There you go. Zor's just said right there. We can always resort to outscoring teams with the attacking talent we have. You still win if you outscore your opponents. Or that's exactly what happened last season, wasn't it? Or we kept going 1-0 down because defensively we weren't solid. We just had a weak defense. Everyone came straight through. But as soon as we went 1-0 down, our attackers were like, oh, okay, let's improve them. Let's get better. Let's go forward. And, our record of coming from 1-0 down to winning games last season was absolutely incredible. But that's not how you win titles. You win titles by going out there, strongly dominating a game and controlling the football match. You watch Man City play. It's not like Man United last year only seemed to get playing when we were 1-0 down. What United need to do this year is switch that. And I don't think you can do that if you play 4-2-3-1 anymore. Hopefully having Maguire and Varane here, that means we're going to be playing with a higher line. You're going to be seeing that more often this season. Let's just switch there to what we should be playing. And what we should be playing, and we know we should be playing, is that 4-3-3. Play Rashford out the left there, Pogba there. As it stands, probably McTominay there, Bruno and Pogba, Sancho up here. Sure, you should be seeing Shaw and Wan-Bissaka operate. Their average position shouldn't be on the edge of their own box. You're probably going to see something like that. That's what we should be seeing from Manchester United next season. Richard, how you doing, my friend? Richard has joined as a member, part of the family. Big up to you, Rich. Welcome aboard. Let me know where you're watching from, and I will try and give you a shout out in the comments, Richard. And always remember, ladies and gents, if you want to get your comments read out, the best way to do it is to join as a member on YouTube, because I give priority. It's part of the membership. I give priority readouts to the comments from all of you if you're members. That's just part of the show. Peter Pablo. I keep calling you Peter Pablo. We're just having a big discussion and debate about Paul Pogba, Peter. We went down here. We've sort of had a discussion about what we think his pros are, what we think some of the cons are about Paul Pogba. I mean, I kind of disagree with the slow pace one. I think he's actually got very good pace when he uses it. It's just he doesn't use it properly. And then it kind of all focused around the fact that we just need to get a defensive midfielder. Anuj, you got a comment here coming in. If we don't sign a defensive midfielder, and if Ole is willing to take a risk on a single pivot, he's going to be playing McTominay in defensive midfield. No question about that. And I think you're absolutely spot on there, Anuj. Absolutely spot on. It is going to be McTominay there. There's no one else who can play there. Richard, joining from New York. Hey, wicked, man. I've got an uncle who just I think he lives like 45 minutes just outside New York. Never visited him in America, but I really want to. Thomas, I'm sorry if I missed your super chats, my friend. I'm all over the shop today. I literally never miss anything in the comments. Let me see if I can scroll up and see your super chat so I can see what you had to say. Oh, there's one. Get his focus straight and not on social media. Look, I disagree with that one, if I'm being honest, completely honest, Thomas. Every player is completely entitled to do whatever they want on social media. They are free human beings, and if they want to go on social media, they can do it, but you can't let it affect your football game. That's where people link haircuts with Paul Pogba to how badly he's playing on the pitch, which is just utter bullshit. Graham Souness, the racist bastard that he is, he tries to do that. Paul Pogba can do what he wants off the pitch, as long as it doesn't affect him on the pitch. And it's the same with every single player. Look, we've got Efosa, you're saying Rice plays the same way as McSauce. McSauce, I can't wait to see. I actually can't wait to see. I genuinely think it was a good chat. If you haven't seen my video yesterday, which I did on my sort of expectations for Manchester United this season, looked at Premier League, Champions League, League Cup, FA Cup. I put Aaron Wan-Bissaka down as the player I expect to be the most improved next season. But there very much could be a good shout, and this will be as a consequence of Manchester United poorly not signing a defensive midfielder. But If we don't sign one, we could see a real leader in McTominay getting developed. And Andy said there, Andy's left a comment. Thank you very much for your super chat, my friend Andy. He said, "Hi Sam, what if Scott delivers every game like he did in the Europa League final? He was outstanding. He could be our future midfield master." Hey, look, he could be. He absolutely could be. But the only thing that doesn't sit right with me, Andy, there is the fact that Axel Tuanzebe could have been an excellent centre back next year for Manchester United. But no, we're not taking that risk. We're going to go out and sign Rafael Varane. Amad Diallo next year could be an incredible right winger for Manchester United. Nah, we're going to go out there and sign Jadon Sancho. Our ambition is to win the league. We can't work with could-bes. We're working with a massive could-be in defensive midfield. Whether that could be Matic having a better season than anybody expects. Whether that could be McTominay turning into a better defensive midfielder than anybody gives him credit for. Whether that could be James Garner breaking through. Whether that could be Fred operating in that role. Whether that could be Donny van der Beek playing in a defensive midfielder. It's a whole load of could-bes. Whereas what we've done by signing Varane and Sancho is we've given ourselves certainties. And that's what jars me. That's why I'm annoyed. And I am more than happy. And I hope I'm proven wrong. And I hope our defensive midfield options actually are better than I think I give them credit for this year. But I don't think they are. As Gary says, look, we haven't got time for a could-be. Sure, it depends what your ambitions are this season. But you can't have the ambition of signing Sancho, the ambition of signing Varane, both of those aiming towards winning the Premier League title, and then just focusing on could-be in the biggest hole you've got in midfield. It's a risk. It's a huge risk that I don't think Manchester United needed to take. Because as the discussion on the main topic of this video is all about Paul Pogba. And getting the most out of Paul Pogba for me is a very, very, very simple thing. Actually, it's not simple. There's two things. First of all, we need Paul Pogba to sign that new contract. That's going to have to be the focus. It's going to be a side story that happens all season long. And it is what it is. I want to see him sign a new contract. I want to see Paul Pogba stay at Manchester United. And I want to see him stay here and win the Premier League with Manchester United. Simple as that. He's one of the best in the world. If we sell Paul Pogba, we will not replace Paul Pogba. It'll be Donny van der Beek who comes in and does part of his game, but Paul Pogba just has something different, has something special. He is a special player, and you want to keep your special players if you want to be challenging for the Premier League. So Paul Pogba, getting him to sign a new contract, that's what we need to do first and foremost. That's going to be an unfortunate side story that Solskjaer has to manage throughout the entire season. And it needs to happen before January. Because if it doesn't, then Paul Pogba can agree deals with Real Madrid or anybody outside of the Premier League because he's a free agent in the summer. And we can't lose him for free again. We can't lose Paul Pogba for free twice. That's an outrageous idea. That can't happen. So this season, he either signs a new deal or we sell him in January. I think those are the two options that the club really has. I don't think the club will let Paul Pogba go for free. So we could be losing Paul Pogba in January. That's outrageous. That's just before the FA Cup starts. That's just before the Champions League knockouts come in. That's the business end of the season. That's mad. That's absolute madness. Like my gut tells me, and I said it on the stream yesterday, I'll say it tomorrow. I'll say it later when we come here about Rafael Varane and we're a little bit more organised in this stream. I think we're going to sign another player between now and the end of the window. Obviously, it depends on Lingard. From what I'm hearing, Lingard and Pereira and Jones, there's been inquiries. Tentative. It's not really massive, but there's something going on there, and I'll be interested to see how that develops. But look, Chris is saying, I can't see anywhere to join on here. If you can't see anywhere, I'm not sure where you're watching from, Chris. There's also a link in the description where you can click that and go as join. Maybe if you're watching on sometimes I know people are having problems in joining when they're watching on mobile or Android. So if you've got a laptop or a computer, watch it on there. It should be straightforward to go there. As far as I know, anyway. I might be wrong. Neves and Saul, says Ian, seem to be available for less than 50 million. So what are United waiting for? Are we actually having to get someone out first? That's ridiculous. Look, that's exactly what's happening, Ian. And it's exactly why things have gone very quiet on us signing another player, which we all want to happen. I'm just grateful for the fact that Manchester United have got Sancho and Varane in first before this has been the issue, because previous years we haven't really signed anybody until we've got rid of all the players that we need to get rid of first. And it's not It's not how a big club operates. It's not the ambition of a big club. And Manchester United have shown that with Sancho and Varane, but not with McTominay being basically our main defensive midfielder and not with Paul Pogba. So look, as I said, I think we can debate about Paul Pogba all day long, and there's plenty of people that have understandable gripes about him. What I would say about Paul Pogba is that I think he's hyper criticized. I think basically every Manchester United player is hyper criticized because it comes with the territory of being a Manchester United player. Am I happy that he stays this season? If we can get him to sign a new deal, yeah, I think I am. If we can't get him to sign a new deal, then it's going to be a bit of it's going to be a side circus with Paul Pogba. As I said to you before, it means that if he has a game where he goes off and he gets substituted off, and it'll be all the headlines will be about Paul Pogba and Solskjaer, and would he be sold rather than about Manchester United and the football? If he scores and has a blinding game, it'd be like, oh man, I can't afford to lose Paul Pogba. The headlines are going to get boring with Paul Pogba across the season. That's what I think anyway. But let me go down and look at the comments here and see what you're saying. When will Varane hold the shirt? It says take off McFadden. McFadden? Yeah. Hopefully later on today, and I'll be here back with another live stream that's going to be much better than this one. Although I've enjoyed the stream anyway. Let's have a look. Josh saying, I've seen this morning that the only deal we are likely to make now is Camavinga. It's what I said yesterday, Josh. It's what I genuinely feel is that Camavinga is the most likely. And I think United are just playing a waiting game with Ren. And I think we're probably going to go in from late in the window last week, last 10 days. And therefore, what we've got 20 days now until the window closes. The next 10 days, I think, are all going to be about trying to find a buyer for Pereira, for Lingard, for Jones, for anybody else who's leaving on loan. And then the last 10 days, I think we're going to focus on getting a central midfielder of sorts. I don't think we're going to get a pure defensive midfielder, but I think we're going to get a midfielder of sorts. But look, it's been an interesting debate here about Paul Pogba. I think one thing we all agree on is that you cannot play Paul Pogba in a double pivot. You play Paul Pogba in a double pivot there alongside McTominay, you are just taking away from him and his game. You cannot play Paul Pogba there. Simple as that. What you need to get Paul Pogba playing is a left central midfield role alongside Bruno, where they basically stay in the opposition half rather than they receive the ball on the edge of the D in the opposition half rather than on the edge of the D in their own half. You want Paul Pogba here. You don't want Paul Pogba receiving the ball there. You want him there. And that's where you're going to get the most and the best out of Paul Pogba. It's as simple as that. But it's an interesting debate I had this morning. I apologize about the quality of the stream, about the lack of interaction here. XYZ, not my best stream, I do admit. But I will be back later on and I will be chatting about Raphael Varane. That's what I want to do later on. That was going to be the main story this morning, but I was like, what's the point of doing 2 videos on Raphael Varane? So I thought, let's have a little debate about Paul Pogba. It's just I accidentally closed all the windows I had opened. That took me 20 minutes to get prepared, and it's very hard to get that done and back when we're on the live stream together. Andy, how you doing? You're saying Michael Carrick should know it best. Who's the best solution to our 4 central defensive midfielders? Shouldn't he? What do you think? Andy, I think we've got 2 excellent midfield coaches in Fletcher and Carrick, and I think they will probably be looking at Scott McTominay and saying, look, there is a defensive midfielder there if we can train it into him. Now, Carrick, as we all know, he dropped into that role. He was always a deeper lying central midfielder, deeper lying playmaker, but when he got further and older in his career, he dropped deeper and deeper and really operated as a quarterback. Didn't operate in terms of tackles, he operated in terms of interceptions. And that's an intelligence, I think, that Carrick can bring to McTominay's game. McTominay's very much he's biting at your ankles. He's running towards the ball and trying to close the lines that way. Carrick was very different. He stood back and assessed the game and blocked the pass because he knew where it was going. So rather than chasing the player down for the ball, he would block the passing lane. That's what Carrick did very, very well. It's what Carrick, I think, can teach into McTominay if he's going to. It's a big risk, as I said. There's just loads of could-be's. McTominay, for me, being a good defensive midfielder next year is probably the most likely could be. And I think one that could actually work. But we won't know that until it goes on the season. But I think it's a very good comment from you, Andy, asking about Carrick. Because we do have Carrick and we do have Fletcher. And they should be making McTominay into a better player. But I'll wrap it up there. It's an interesting debate we had this morning about Paul Pogba. We all agree we need to sign a defensive midfielder. That's going to be the focus for us for the last 20 days of this transfer window. For me, it's more than likely that the next 10 days are all about player sales, and the last 10 days, it's going to be a bit of a rush to see if we can get one in, and that's why I think Camavinga is most likely. I think we're playing a game with Rennes. Whether or not we win is something different altogether. But thank you all very much for joining this morning. It's a bit of a quiet stream. Not that many people watching, not that many comments, but some of the OGs are here. You all joined in. Thank you very much to all the new members. There's a few new members this morning. I'm going to be back later on with the Rafael Varane announcement stream. So make sure you come here. I'll be here straight away on United People's TV. That's going to be an exciting one. Thank you all very much for joining in this morning. If you are new and you have enjoyed it, drop a like on the video and subscribe. It's free, of course. Oh, and by the way, we reached 201,000 subscribers, which means we're doing another giveaway on United People's TV. I'll let you know what that giveaway is tomorrow. I'll get that sorted. But as I said, every time we hit 1,000 subscribers, new subscribers on the channel, we're going to be doing a giveaway. So don't worry, I'm not forgetting about that. And we have chosen the winner for the for the Patrice Evra letter, hoodie, and bag. And that was Craig Peterson over on Discord. If you want to be in with the chance of winning any more of those, head over to our Discord. But I'll be back later on. Thank you all very much for joining in. Until next time, though, take it easy.